Hey, so I'm posting a video that's from my past. I was a radical in Christianity and then stepped out of Christianity into agnosticism for a while, and that was the lens that I was in whenever I made this. But there's a lot, the universe is telling me right now to start releasing this kind of content and to speak on this because I'm actually built for this, and I learned more about my human design. It's like, this is my thing. So let me know what you get out of it, and I love you guys. Woo! Morality does not come from religion. So this episode is about religious versus secular morality. We're going to peek into the minds of each side. Today's episode will be needed in order to really understand what else I plan to talk about. And I'll share some of those plans toward the end of the episode. We'll define why religions claim that morality comes from their God or comes from a God. Then we'll define secular morality and judge for ourselves which is more plausible. It is time for a breakthrough, so I'm stoked to share this information with you because it changed my life. Once I was able to define terms, things made sense. You'll see what I mean. So disclaimer, this series reflects my own current personal opinions. I am not a professional philosopher. Terms may be used in a different way than higher education uses them. I'll do my best to define my terms as I go. Please feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, and resources regarding applicable topics. So my religious past was in Christianity, so a lot, if not all, of the opposing stances will come from that point of view. So have religious people ever noticed that non-religious people are also moral, honest, and integral? When I was a radical Christian, I don't know why, but that just did not dawn on me that there was no difference between religious versus non-religious. Even atheists that think that all theists are total morons can still be all of those things. If an atheist can be moral, then how can a theist state that a God must exist in order for a person to be moral? A lot of you are thinking Romans 2 right now, law in the heart. We'll get to that in this series. So, religious mindset. Let's step into the minds of a religious person from either of the Abrahamic religions. I'll be using the word theist to speak of the collective believers of any of these three Abrahamic religions. So you have Christianity, you have Judaism, and you have Islam. Those are the three Abrahamic religions. So when I say theist, it's from that point of view. You'll see why. So theists want morality to come from their God because they want to live in an idea that there is a God with a divine law that everyone is judged by, a universal divine command. How can morality exist outside of that divine command? Without the ability to break that divine command given by that God, there can be no immorality. Immorality would be the breaking of that God's divine command. The idea of morality and immorality in this paradigm hinges on the concept of a divine universal law given by a God. Therefore, morality could not exist without their God, because being moral would mean obeying that God's laws. Being immoral would mean breaking that God's laws. In this religious paradigm, it's all about laws. It's all about being judged according to those laws. That's what the holy texts are given for, right? They're given by the gods to give people laws to live by. It makes it to where us puny human beings have a chance of knowing how to be nice to each other. How do I know what to do? I'll check the rule book to see. Without this magic book, we would all plunder, rape, and kill each other. Society would not be able to survive without a rule book from a God. Where there's a law, there has to be a lawgiver. Where there's a command, there has to be a commander. Where there's a requirement, there has to be a requirer. So in summary, the religious stance is all about law and judgment. A God gives a law, and breaking that law is immorality. Obeying that law is morality. Without that God's laws, there is no morality, and there are no absolutes. Without God, it's all relative. You have no absolutes. If there's no law or judgment, what's stopping you from raping and killing everyone you want to rape and kill? All morality would be subjective, meaning it's flexible and humans are figuring it out as they go, and not objective, meaning there is only one true interpretation, and ultimately an authority set rules in stone, an authority that will judge by those rules in the afterlife. It's hard for a religious mind to escape this paradigm because everything is about justice and judgment. They want things to be fair. If not now, it will be in the end. The idea that things are not fair and that there may not be justice and judgment seems ridiculous in this paradigm. It doesn't fit into the idea of a creation. It doesn't fit into the idea of a created order with a creator. It seems chaotic and random, and it makes them feel insignificant. The mind of a religious person, if God is good, then anything good, like morality, must be from God. If things were created, then we would call everything a creation, and a creation would mean there is an intended order. Yet subjective morality is chaos and not orderly. Therefore, creation must demand an objective morality. Things must be fair. If not now, they will be in the end. Law and judgment, justice and fairness. If there's no moral accountability, no judgment at the end of our story, then people should just live as they please. There's no reason to be moral if there's not some reward in the end. There must be a God and order. Otherwise, it would mean that I'm insignificant, and our existence is random and meaningless. All right. So I think I nailed it as far as a religious mindset from those types of religions. Right? It's almost like I used to be religious or something. All right, so let's step into the secular mindset. How does secular morality compare to religious morality? Now let's define from a secular point of view. You'll see how powerful this is and how it all starts to come together under this paradigm. To me, it makes so much more sense.
Are you listening?
Let's define morality. I'll be using a customized example. I think once we do that, a veil will be lifted, and we'll get to see how simple and subjective morality truly is. Defining morality. So I use the architecture of a civilization to build my arguments. You'll notice that a lot of my examples in this series will come from a community and business point of view. So imagine a society that needs to get along with each other in order for everyone to have an opportunity to thrive and achieve health, wealth, prosperity, safety, and happiness. The foundation needed for that society to survive would be a moral foundation. So let's look at theft, honesty, and murder. Theft. Businesses can't survive if everyone is stealing from each other. The economy would collapse, and very few would survive. Honesty. Relationships can't survive if people can't trust each other. Lying would prevent business, friend, and family relationships from forming. And the economy would fail from the lack of procreation and the ability to make money. Imagine starting a business and ripping all of your customers off. Eventually, word would get out, and you would have no business inquiries. No one would trust you. Murder. So if everyone is killing each other, society would obviously fail. This is a simple example that will be expounded on much later. I think you guys get the point. Just imagine a society and what would be needed for it to work. That foundation is a moral foundation. That's morality. It's a set of rules or social contracts that society leans on in order for a prosperous economy to function. Why would everyone agree to any set of rules or social contracts? And note, this is done peer-to-peer and has nothing to do with gods, because the ultimate goal is pleasure. And we can all contribute to a society where the potential is highest for experiencing pleasure. So let's talk about terms of morality. These are terms that all humans within a civilization can agree on. Life is generally preferable to death. Pleasure is generally preferable to pain. Health is generally preferable to sickness. Shared goals: life, pleasure, health, wealth, liberty, prosperity, safety, happiness. We see an example in our U.S. Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The secular version of this statement would read like, we would hold these truths to be self-evident that all of humanity are equal, that they are endowed by their peers with dignity and with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, with these shared goals in mind, apply this question. How can we operate as a society and increase the likelihood of experiencing these benefits? Societies naturally have these innate shared goals. No mentally healthy person would reject all of these. Society would determine right from wrong by evaluating the consequences of their actions with respect to these shared goals. Those that agree to share in the responsibility of the needed foundations are agreeing to a set of moral terms. Those that do not are not participating in that set of moral terms. Society excludes those that do not agree to those terms. It is a social contract. So here's an example of a businessman benefiting from a moral foundation. If my reputation is that the products you buy from me will actually work, the pricing makes sense, you're actually getting the product I led you to believe you were getting, you'll most likely choose to use me as your provider for that product now and in the future. We both share a win-win experience. My reputation was built on a moral foundation. You trusted that foundation and chose to buy from me. It's a win-win. That's a super simple example of what a moral foundation looks like in practice. Once we can get our heads around it, this does turn out to be a very simple subject. I understand that there are really in-depth studies and philosophy studies. I understand that you can take this subject and go super deep in higher education. I'm keeping things super simple. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you were raised in a religion claiming to be the provider of morality and you believed it, it'll take some work to remove that blinding veil. So secular morality promotes general well-being over suffering. Feeding someone who is hungry is better than raping someone. Secular morality focuses on creating a better world for offspring. So, in a secular moral system, society decides they want to create a better world for their offspring to experience the same pleasure goals. We probably don't want to risk our offspring being enslaved, so eliminating slavery would be a good idea. We like the idea of giving all of humanity intrinsic value because we all benefit and our offspring benefits indefinitely. Secular morality is constantly learning, growing, refining, and changing for the better. Just like all other landscapes, it gets better over time. The world is actually getting better, not worse. In a religious mindset, everything is going to hell in a handbag, right? In a secular mindset, things are actually getting better. Think of women's rights and slavery. We're going to cover that. In a secular moral system, the advantage is that new things can be tested and tried to see what works and what doesn't. So new speed limits can be tried in different areas to see what works. Morality is evolving. It's required to evolve for everyone to benefit. The world is going to continue to change, so will morality. Secular morality leaves room to experiment and find moral grounds that work for evolving societies. So, who determines the rules, right? Religious mindset versus secular mindset. Who determines the rules? So in a religious paradigm, you have the question, who determines your rules of morality? The question is coming from the paradigm of a lawgiver, right? So those in that paradigm have a hard time thinking outside of the lawgiver box because that's the box they've chosen to think inside. They've wired their analytical processes to think inside that box. In a secular paradigm, the religious question, who determines your rules of morality, has a super simple answer. We do. Society as a whole determines it. It's a contract. It's a social contract. Society, with the shared goals of prosperity and happiness, determines what works and what doesn't. The religious paradigm sees the secular answer as chaos and something that cannot function. What they don't want to grasp is that everything in their current lives already uses secular morality. Modern society already functions on secular morality. They're ignorantly living out a working secular moral system, and they're stating it would be chaos. Societies choose their moral standards together. That's why different societies have different moral standards. It is subjective, and the decision makers are the whole of society. Terms and conditions are agreed on by the majority. It's a social contract. So we're on the brink. We're on the brink of abolishing slavery in our age. That is a secular morality advancement, not a religious one. The more connected we become, the smaller the ecosystem is for slavery to survive. We're nearing an age where women are treated equally among men. That's a secular morality advancement. That's not a religious advancement. That's not a religious morality advancement. So nearly abolishing slavery and an advancement in women's rights, secular moral advancements, not religious ones. Once we can get our heads around it, this does turn out to be a simple subject. The thing is, if you were raised in a religion claiming to be the provider of morality and you believed it, it'll take some work to remove that blinding veil. So in a religious mindset, their moral accountability is to God. In a secular mindset, their moral accountability is to fellow humans and other living things. That's why I believe that secular morality is way more advanced than religious morality. Right and wrong beliefs are required for relationships to build trust, and therefore for society to function. So morality is as old as civilization. Kevin Maxwell. That's it for episode 1. I hope my points were clear and that you were able to peek into the mindset of a super religious moral mindset versus secular morality mindset. It's two different worlds, isn't it? Two totally different worlds. If you support this content or would like to have an apologist respond to this content, please share it. Feel free to use everything in this series for your own content. After finishing the series, I plan to turn it all into a book. Future episodes to look forward to. So I plan to mention 11. It may be more, it may be less. They're not going to be in any particular order. So we're going to talk about expounding a little more on secular versus religious morality in a story format that should make it way more transparent. When are lying, stealing, and killing moral? And the evolution of morality over time. This episode will prove that morality is subjective. Animals show morality. Animals aren't religious. Morality isn't from religion, neuroscience, and morality. We're going to talk about mirror neurons. Moral law on everyone's heart. Is there a moral law given by God that's already on everyone's hearts? Romans 2. So we'll cover the argument by some apologists that a God's laws are written on all of humanity's hearts, and that's why non-believers are still functioning citizens. I plan to explain how that's a misinterpretation of the text. They don't know who Paul's audience was there, and that they can no longer use that to speak of a universal moral law. Teaching morals without religion. I'll reveal how we're already doing this, and we'll brainstorm new ideas and resources. I'll have a few professional special guests on for this topic as well. Bible is immoral. I make the claim that the benefits of our modern society in regards to nearly abolishing slavery and promoting women's rights are fruits of secular morality and not religious morality. We'll go deeper into the immorality of the Bible and how it should not be used to teach modern generations about morality. A question for theists to get them to think: are things right because God said so? Or does God say so because they are right? Atheist versus theist debate. Smart ways to debate. Stop stressing in Facebook groups. It's a waste of time. Build your own content instead. The smart ones will do formal responses. Take your time. Don't get tied up in some Facebook debate with a moron that has spent no time on this topic. This advice will alleviate tons of stress. Contractarianism. Existentialism. Okay, it's a pleasure doing life with you guys. See you next time.